Can you hear me?
All
Yes?
right. Uh,
Okay.
good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is the appeal of Dehesa Auto Sales, Inc. This is OTA case number 230212516. We have started the live stream in this hearing. And so I am going to begin with a few introductory matters, explain a few logistics, and then I will go on the record. And at that time, I will ask everyone to identify themselves for the record and introduce themselves. As I said, this is the Office of Tax Appeals hearing for the appeal of Dehesa Auto Sales, Inc. I will remind everyone, if at any time you have difficulty hearing someone, or if you're having technical problems with the video conferencing, please speak up and let us know. To reduce background noise, we suggest that when you are not speaking, please mute yourself. There is a button at the bottom of your screen with a little microphone. It says audio, and you can switch it to mute when you are not speaking. But please remember to turn it back on when it is your turn to speak. Please remember that today's proceedings are being live streamed to the public on YouTube, so any information is publicly viewable, and therefore please be careful not to share any confidential information on your screen or verbally, such as home addresses or social security numbers. I'm Suzanne Brown. My co-panelists today are Judge Teresa Stanley and Judge Josh Aldrich. Also present today is our stenographer, Ms. Alonzo, who is reporting this hearing verbatim. To ensure we have an accurate record, we ask that everyone speaks one at a time, and please do not speak over each other. When people are interrupting each other, it makes it much more difficult for our stenographer to get a clear record. And so we need everyone to wait their turn, speak one at a time. When needed, the stenographer will stop the hearing process and ask for clarification or any other interruptions that she needs to make in order to get a clear record. After the hearing, Ms. Alonzo will produce the official hearing transcript, which will be available on the Office of Tax Appeals website. Now, if everyone is ready and Ms. Alonzo is ready, we will go on the record. And I see she is ready. So now I will say we are on the record for the appeal of Dehesa Auto Sales, Inc., OTA case number 230212516. Today is Thursday, August 15th, 2024, and it is approximately 1:01 p.m. We are holding this hearing electronically over Zoom with the agreement of all parties. I will start by asking each of the participants to please state their names for the record. And I will begin with CDTFA. If each of the representatives could please identify themselves for the record.
Ravinder Sharma, hearing representative. Thank you.
Jason Parker, Chief of Headquarters Operations Bureau with CDTFA.
And do we have a third representative on the line for CDTFA or just two?
No, I'm here.
Oh, sorry.
Good afternoon.
Okay.
This is Christopher Brooks, attorney for CDTFA.
My apologies, Mr. Brooks. I didn't see you on my screen.
No problem. My mute button was appearing and disappearing. So.
Okay. And now if I could ask the representative for appellant to please identify himself.
Yes, my name is Leslie Hunt. I'm president of Dehesa Auto Sales, Inc., DBA Hunt Auto Sales.
Thank you, everyone. As you know, I'm Suzanne Brown. I'm the lead administrative law judge, or ALJ, for this case. And my co-panelists today are Judge Teresa Stanley and Judge Josh Aldrich. Although I am lead ALJ for purposes of conducting the hearing, all three ALJs are co-equal decision makers in this process, and they are free to ask questions at any time. This hearing is before the Office of Tax Appeals, or OTA. OTA is not a court, but is an independent appeals body. OTA is staffed by tax experts and is independent from the state's tax agencies, including independent from CDTFA. Because OTA is a separate agency from CDTFA, arguments and evidence that were previously presented to CDTFA are not necessarily part of the record before OTA unless those arguments and evidence have been sent directly to OTA. OTA's written opinion for this appeal will be based upon the briefs the parties have submitted to OTA, the exhibits that will be admitted into evidence, and the arguments presented at the hearing. As a reminder, the panel does not engage in what's called ex parte communications, meaning that the panel members do not speak to one party without the other party present. We held a pre-hearing conference in this matter back in July, and I issued a pre-hearing conference minutes and orders dated July 24th of this year, 2024. So I'm just going to briefly recap a few things that we discussed at the pre-hearing conference before we get into the actual arguments that we're going to hear at the hearing today. First, we discussed that in terms of witnesses, appellant is calling its representative, its president, Mr. Hunt, to testify as a witness today. And I'll confirm CDTFA is not calling any witnesses at this hearing, correct?
This is Ravinder Sharma. That is correct. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. I want to talk about the exhibits that I will be admitting into evidence. Both parties have submitted proposed exhibits, and OTA compiled these into an electronic binder as a courtesy copy, just so that we have them all together in one place. I know there were some duplicate pages, but I did try to take out some of the duplicates. But the important thing is that we have all the documents that everyone submitted. We have under our regulations, we have a deadline of submitting the exhibits 15 days in advance. I will note that some of appellant's exhibits came in a few days late, and we'll discuss that, whether there's any objection. I'm going to address each party's exhibits separately, and let me start with appellant's exhibits. Appellant submitted exhibits 1 through 11. Exhibits 1 through 3 were timely, and then exhibits 4 and 5 came in one day after the deadline, and then exhibits 6 through 11 came in the following week. I want to ask CDTFA if it has any objection to admitting any of appellant's exhibits 1 through 11 into evidence.
This is Ravinder Sharma. Department has no objection, even though those are not, but we have no objection.
Okay. And then I will say that appellant's exhibits 1 through 11 are admitted into evidence. And as for CDTFA's exhibits, CDTFA timely submitted exhibits A through E. And Mr. Hunt, you should have received those documents. You received them last year in 2023, and then I believe that we had them sent to you again after the pre-hearing conference. And then you also should have received a courtesy copy with the electronic exhibit binder that my office sent out on Tuesday. So you have, we'll just confirm you received CDTFA's exhibits A through E.
Yes, I did.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Do you have any objection to having those exhibits admitted into the evidentiary record today?
No.
Okay, then I will say that CDTFA's exhibits A through E are admitted. Next, I want to confirm what the issue is going to be today. As I stated in the pre-hearing conference minutes and orders, I have the issue phrased as whether further adjustments are warranted to the taxable measure for unreported taxable sales and unreported sales tax reimbursement. And I'll just confirm with both parties that that is your understanding of the issue. Appellant, is that a correct statement?
In reference to that, correct, and then also the losses that I had sent in things on.
All right, can you elaborate as to what you mean?
Well, with the 1099-Cs and the copy of the sales contracts, along with the funding notices that were sent up to the CDTFA, those are the two biggies right there.
All right, so how would that affect the phrasing of the issue today?
Well, because on their page 299, it's a large dollar amount. The 1099-Cs were $50,000 approximately, and the contracts with the proof of funding notices were close to $500,000.
All right, we said page 299. Are you referring to the page 299 of the exhibit binder or 299 of
The exhibit
their?
binder, their exhibit binder.
Okay, well, I have page 299 of their exhibit binder as a report of discussion of audit findings dated January 22nd, 2021. Is that what you're referring to?
This is receipt for books and records of account.
All right, I think you're talking about a different page 299 than I'm looking at. So let me get to the right page that you mean. Hold on, sorry. Oh, I may have been looking in their exhibits. Hold on. Okay, hold on. Wait. Okay, receipt for books of account. I have that as page 388 of the exhibit binder, but I see where you mean. It's page 299 that they have stamped, and that's exhibit B.
Yes.
All right, so that document is from the audit, and that is dated June 15th, 2022, but that's not the most recent document that we have
Well,
in terms of what the amount is.
right. The reason this is so important, this document right here, because in following notes from Stephen Austin, from Bonnie, and so forth, they stated that they never received the 1099-Cs or the 1096s, and they never received the contracts with the financing checks connected to them. And right here is a document that states they received them. And in turn, they returned them back to me many, many, many months later. And this is a huge dollar amount.
All right. Well, Mr. Hunt, what I think that we might be getting off track here, because all I'm trying to clarify what the issues are. And this is you're arguing about whether they received the documents. The issue is sort of figuring out what you're arguing should be changed, what adjustments need to be made.
Right.
To the measure.
Well, through the measure, the problem is the 1099-C credits, their flat out denial is based upon, oh, it's not on your tax return. That's
right, but I'm sorry I apologize to our stenographer that we are talking over each other.
I'm sorry.
That's sort of an evidentiary question that you're arguing about. I'm just trying to figure out what essentially what the issues are. The issue is that you are saying that some of the transactions that CDTFA said that you owe tax on, you're saying you don't owe tax on some of them, and that's how I phrased it.
Correct.
Okay, so you haven't said anything that makes me think I need to change the wording of the issue, which is whether further adjustments are warranted to the taxable measure for unreported taxable sales and unreported sales tax reimbursement.
Right. On that particular thing, there's the question of cars that were either unwound in confusion on the basis of the vehicle being spot delivered or on a borrow car agreement, and then having to get the car back because I don't get it back. I have to put it out for repo. They're considering the repo being a sale.
So what I want to do, and we are still just clarifying the issue. You're not under oath yet. I haven't sworn you
Okay.
in as a witness.
Okay.
What I want to do is just clarify what transactions you are saying are in dispute. You submitted to my office a request for appeal that you hand wrote, and you initially identified 6 transactions, and they were the 6 transactions that you list in, I have them in your exhibit 4, for example. They were referring to this chart that the auditor provided that lists 6 transactions.
These, I believe these 6.
Yes, those, exactly.
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
Correct.
And then one of those transactions, I think it was the 3rd one, maybe, CDTFA did a second re-audit, and they found that one of those 6 transactions they agreed was not taxable. And that is in their exhibit A. It's their second re-audit removed one of these transactions from the measure. So my understanding was that the remaining 5 transactions are what is in dispute here in this case. Is that correct?
That is part of it. I also sent you the information on the 1099-Cs.
But did you identify for us which transactions you're saying that 1099-Cs pertain to?
I sent you the copies of all of them.
No,
Not on these 6 here, but on all the stuff that was 1099-C'd to the IRS. And
okay, so you're saying that that you want me to look at you want the panel to look at each of these forms and figure out which transactions they refer to?
on those forms, I gave you a breakdown of every transaction on there, that it was 2. Customer's name on the 1099-Cs. It has their social. It has the last part of the social. It has their name. Everything. Everything is on everything that I send to the IRS.
Is this in a list? Did the documents you sent us, is there a list of all the transactions that you are disputing?
Yep. Every one of them.
What page are we looking at here in your exhibit?
You're looking at, it's not in this here. Okay. Excuse me 1 minute. Okay, if you look at page 1 of the one that says summary of 1099-Cs, and then page 2 shows all the ones for 2015.
All right, when you say page 1 of summary of 1099-C, is that the one that we have marked exhibit 5? It's page 1 of 9.
I believe so. Page 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Page 10. Let's see these. Okay, I sent you a page 1, page 2,
No.
page
Page 1 of 9 or these will be here.
3, 4. Okay, there was one that was sent over.
Yeah.
It was,
It's that one. What number is this?
that should be 5.
5, 6, yeah.
Okay, yeah, the one through 9, correct. And I
Okay.
put examples in there. Wow, okay, I'm still on audio. Okay, yeah, page 1 through 9 gives you a list, the total breakdown as far as the dollar amounts, and then pages 2 on give you the stock number of the customer's last four of the social security number, their name, the date of the event of sale to Crisscross, and also the debt amount. And these were all filed with the IRS, and they are going after the people on them because we get customers calling us.
All right, so you're talking about the transactions listed in Exhibit 5, and they are, let's see, from
There's
for
page-
2015, oh, there's, that you have a page that says 2015 1099-C, a
correct,
page that says 2016 1099-C,
correct,
2017 and 2018. So
Correct.
those are the additional transactions that you're disputing in addition to the 5 that you listed in your request for appeal.
correct. And then also the dollar amounts on the contracts that she got, I gave you that page on where they received all the boxes up there and so forth. And
And you'll need to clarify what page and what, yeah, first tell me what
Well-
page you're referring to.
okay, I'm referring to okay, I'm okay. Thank you. Back to the page 299. On that page, the receipt for records and books, I sent all the contracts with all the funding notices and check stubs. There's no way I could send you all this stuff because we're talking 700, almost 800 contracts that I gave to her up there in boxes. That's why we did it in-house.
And what you have to tell, you have to tell us specifically what transactions are you referring to? Because if you just say there's a bunch of transactions, I don't know what they are. The panel, you know, my co-panelists don't know.
I sent you the list with that breakdown of all the contracts.
And what list are we talking about?
That's, I'm going to, right. Okay, you should have received a summary of information listed October, November, December of 15 of 61,179. A summary of information for 2016, which was $249,712. For 2017 was $191,724. And for 18 was $81,084.
All right, can you look at, Mr. Hunt, can you look at the exhibit binder that we sent you?
How do I look at that? None of this here, this stuff right here is not on there. It's not on there. Their only thing is that they have on there are these 6 things. These are from, and the reason I'm showing you this notice from her is because in the notes here on page 344, they deny ever seeing
Mr.
them.
Hunt, I'm going to need to stop you here. We're just clarifying the issues.
Okay.
We're just trying to figure out which transactions you are disputing. I'm going to make sure that everyone understands that this isn't even the argument for the hearing. This is just clarifying what's in dispute before we actually take argument and testimony.
Okay.
All right,
These
so
5 transactions.
These the five transactions in listed on your request for appeal, and the transactions listed in Exhibit 5 per the 1099-Cs.
Correct.
That's what I have so far.
Correct.
All right, and you're saying there's if there's other transactions listed in the contracts that per the contracts that you're saying should not be part of the measure, you're gonna have to point us directly to where it is, either what transactions you're disputing and what evidence supports your position that they shouldn't be part of the measure.
Okay.
Is there something that you have sent us or something in CDTFA's evidence that lists the transactions that you're disputing other than the 5 in the request for appeal and the ones in Exhibit 5?
Yes.
And where is that?
They sent me back all the boxes, and that's why I want to contest what they're saying here, because they're saying like they never got them. But
All right, that's an evidentiary issue. I'm just trying to figure out what the issue is, that's an evidentiary question. I'm
Okay.
just trying to figure out what you're disputing. And
the losses, the amount of losses.
All right. I'm gonna turn to CDTFA and ask if they have any, since we've been talking with appellant for a while, if CDTFA wants to respond to any of the issue clarification that we have been discussing here. Mr. Sharma?
This is Ravinder Sharma.
Mhm.
I think if I understand correctly, maybe appellant is talking about page 46 of their submission, which is called a summary of information for October 2015 to September 2018, which appears to be account receivables. And then he's talking about these are the amount every month, how many cars were sold, how much amount was paid, how much was unpaid at the end of the month, which is a account receivables. Basically, he's claiming that he did not receive those money at the end of the month. Again, I'm just thinking, because that's what he's referring to, $583,000. That's what page 46 of the binder. If you look at that one, that's what it comes to, $583,000. It lists month, car sold, amount unpaid for each month, all the way from October 2015 to September 2018. I think so.
Right. And do you know, are all of these sales part of the measure?
Yes, these are all parts of the measure, because the sales are part of the measures, but these are the account receivables. So whatever money is unpaid at the end of the month. And I think we can, if you want, I can explain it further, or I can hold my response when we do the presentation, because the department has already looked at that one, and these documents do not support any returned merchandise or bad debts credit.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Sharma. I will say,
Sure.
please address that in your presentation.
Sure.
Now I will turn back to appellant and say, Mr. Hunt, the page that we are looking at, it's looks like it's Exhibit 9 of your evidence that we've marked it as Exhibit 9. Is this the page you were talking about, the summary of information, 2015, 2016, 2017? Are these the transactions you are saying you
Yes.
dispute?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you're saying all of these in Exhibit 9, page 2, are in dispute?
Right. There's page 3, page 4. We sent it to you on the 8th. In an email or scan. Yeah, all those.
Okay,
And those are all on the list.
I'm sorry, which list?
Their whole 340 some page thing. All these customers are on there.
Okay. All right, then I will say, I think we have identified all of the transactions in dispute, and I will still say that I think we can keep the issue statement as phrased about whether further adjustments are warranted to the measure for unreported taxable sales and unreported sales tax reimbursement. I thank everyone for your patience in clarifying the issues. I'm going to move on. I've admitted the evidence. I'm just going to go over our schedule for this hearing today. And then we will proceed with the presentations. And before that, I'll swear in Mr. Hunt as a witness. The schedule we have for today is that appellant will make its presentation first, and that includes Mr. Hunt's testimony. And Mr. Hunt, you will have up to 45 minutes to make your presentation. At that time, we may have questions from the panel or from CDTFA because you are testifying. After that, CDTFA will make its presentation, and that CDTFA will have up to 30 minutes. And then after that, the panel may have questions for both parties. And then appellant, you will have a final rebuttal of up to 5 minutes. If at any point anyone needs a break, please say so, and we can take a short break. But if we do take a break, I will remind everyone, don't disconnect from this call, just mute yourself and turn off your audio. Let's see here. Does anyone have any questions or anything that you want to raise before we begin with hearing arguments? Okay, since no one has said anything, I will say that we can go ahead and proceed with appellant's presentation. Mr. Hunt, first I'm going to swear you in as a witness. If you could please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you will give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Oh, and you are on mute, so if you could unmute yourself first.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Mr. Hunt, you can proceed with your presentation, and I'm just going to remind you, like I said, you need to be specific. You know what you're talking about when you say this page or this transaction, but the panel does not necessarily know what you mean. So you're going to need to be very specific in telling us what you're disputing and what evidence supports it. Point us to an exhibit with a page number if possible. Okay, you can proceed, and you have 45 minutes.
Okay. The basic start of this goes back to when actually I applied for the license back in 2014. When I went down and applied for the license, I got a single piece of paper, paid the fee. They gave me my copy back and a receipt. And I asked them, I said, is there anything else that you can provide me with? They say, no, this is all we have right now. Sitting behind me right here, if you notice this, when you go down to get your DMV license or dealer license, this is what they give you. They give you a book that has all the different codes, all the different things and everything from DMV. This comes out yearly, which I subscribe to, which is now all internet. The issues here, a couple of them, I think, are because of the differences between the CDTFA, DMV, the changes in the last major part, probably the last 6-7 years between the two. There was no guidance, no booklet, no, okay, go to a class, do this and do that. In the last 10 years, there's been a whole lot of change, a whole lot of updating, whole lot of things changed. I was the one that actually brought to attention to the CDTFA about the sales tax being paid in gas and dealers not getting any credit for that tax that's being paid in gas being put into vehicles that are being reselled. With all these changes and no guidelines and so forth, and I spoke to the gentleman, Sharma. I'm sorry if I pronounced his name wrong, but I spoke to him the other day, and he said to me that, well, if a car is not resold within 30 days, then there's fees due, tax, this and that, and so forth. And I'm like, okay, show me the guideline or whatever about this. There is no guideline. If you spot deliver a car to a person and they come back and bring it back, there's no money exchanged, nothing done because the credit union didn't approve them or anything like that. There's no reason to change things from your current stock number to a new stock number because transaction didn't exist. You were just hoping that the people went to the credit union, showed them the car. They said, okay, the car's okay, your loan's okay, here's your check, go back to the dealer. A lot of times, especially as an independent dealer, that isn't the way it happens. But the problem is, the reason we must do that is because if we don't, the new car stores and so forth, who have a whole lot more latitude with things, will do it. And not even that, they'll do it with brand new cars. Then they bring it back as demos or whatever else. But like on these transactions here, just like I showed to Gladys, and we sat down together side by side, and we went through each one, and I showed her, here's when this original date of this one was, like Andrew Fuller, okay, never picked up the car, never did anything. I had to go through the correct DMV process, because back then you had immediately within 5 days postmark DMV stuff. You didn't have like today, electronic, be able to go back in, cancel, do this. You didn't have any of this. You had to mail it in, had to be postmarked. So you had to do it immediately. So if anything canceled or was changed after that point, you had to go through a whole process to get that back in. And that's why some of the notes here state, oh, Mr. Hunt had to purchase the car, or he purchased or did this or did that. No, what it is, by DMV's way of clearing it back, if the customer doesn't sign a certain form, you have to sign a statement of fact stating customer refused, do this, do that. And then they turn around and send you back the title, but it's in your name or the company's name. This is DMV. Well, they're looking at this here like the customer traded me back the car. That's not the case. Or I had to go chase the customer, which one of these is a real interesting case, because I actually saw him on the freeway. I was riding my Harley and the guy blew by me in my car, and ended up having to call a repo company because I've been chasing him for 2 months to get it. And it had a bunch of body damage and stuff like that. I've got no money. So that's why some of the other documents I've sent you, court cases, small claim court case thing documents I've sent you to show you. I've gone to small claims court and gone against a lot of these also. But then I found out in small claims court after a while that it wasn't really beneficial to do that, due to the fact that the court will not have the sheriff or anybody go collect money unless you have a good account number or routing number, and they keep that and so forth and so on. There's no way to collect it there. So the only way, I call it kind of my payback, is that I turn around and file. When I got educated by things, that I turn around and file 1099-C forms, because the IRS does attack them and does add it to their income. It changes all their write-offs and everything else, and it affects a lot of things in their tax situations. So that's when I found that out. Back in that time, I started doing that religiously instead of even messing with the court cases, because I was throwing good money after bad money, and the court couldn't even do anything to help me get the money. So it was kind of like, okay, why am I doing this if they're not going to do anything to help me get it? So that's why there's the 1099-Cs. And I've got on page 281 of this form here. Can you see that?
Yes, I can. It looks like a document that CDTFA has marked as page 281 in their evidence.
Yes.
Okay, so that is in Exhibit B of their evidence. Hold on.
And
Second. Actually, I don't have that. Do you have, can you say what
this-
that document is?
this was in what they sent me, because I went and had this all printed out.
Oh, is this part of, see, I have page 281 in their evidence as part of the assignment activity history.
Yeah.
And I should remind you, actually, don't show that on the screen, please. Let's just find the document.
Sorry.
It's okay. Sorry, I should have mentioned. All right, go ahead and describe the document that is,
Well,
it looks like it's part of their
basically-
assignment activity history.
Right, and what it was is that it shows the different people involved. And at the time when I went to the meeting, took things up there to them and so forth. And it was also told, okay, bring additional stuff and send the 1099s and the contracts and the paper trail on the contracts from here's the contract, here's the check I got paid. Okay, and that I sent all that stuff up, and there was numerous errors. They kept calling the wrong phone number on here. If you look, for some reason, I think this was right before, excuse me, that Mr. Austin passed on, but that these notes here, and but he's the one who informed me to get all this stuff together and take it up there, which I did do with the paper trail of the finance agreement. And even in her notes, it states that she received both the contracts and the receivable amount and the 1099-C and the 1096 form, which you file with the C's of everything. So, I mean, there's a paper trail of everything there.
You can go ahead. We're listening.
And this form here, which is a standard, this is blank, so there's nothing on it. It's called a borrow car agreement form, a BPI form that's approved by the state Department of Motor Vehicles, okay, to loan a vehicle to a client because of a DMV law states that any consumer has the right to take a vehicle for 7 days and have it inspected. So why here DMV is telling you one thing, but the CDTFA is saying, well, if the car goes out on the street in California, that tax is due. It's not sold to them and so forth. They're on a borrow car agreement. Okay. And or, okay, if we do have to RS it, it's because we don't have good plates or a dealer plate. And then if the deal falls through, we just unwind the deal. And then I was, like I said, explained by him that Mr. Rashmar, that on this one deal here, he said on the customer, I believe was Melissa Mendoza, that the car was sold like 10 months later. What was in my inventory the whole time, okay, from the first time that we sold it and then unwound it until the time we sold it. Cars in inventory. And I went through these things all with Gladys, and because I did it myself with her. We went by car, by deal jacket on every one of these. And two of the cars she even went out and touched. And it was like, okay, I see the cars here, okay. But all of these, if they did their DMV search, we'll see the cars. I sold the cars all after this. There is no trade-in. The only paperwork is done is what DMV is requesting me to do to get it back, which is put it in the dealer's name, bring it back into inventory if that stuff's been mailed in. And I give them the proper paperwork, which it has to be done because they're saying here already it's transferred back to me. So I had to provide DMV the proper paperwork, the statement of facts and everything else, and got it back. And they've all been resold. Go ahead.
Mr. Hunt, I wasn't sure if you were pausing or if you were waiting
I'm
for.
pausing. It's just, like I said, there's so much of this. And again, if you look at, this is on the page 344, it's page 2 of exhibit number 4 for them.
Go ahead. Thank you.
Okay. In the statement here, it says, based on a review of the 1099-C forms, There is no corresponding contracts. They had every contract in their possession. Every contract with a copy of the funding check from the lender and everything else in their possession. Proof of receipt and them sending me back all the boxes. They had everything. Okay. And yes, we allowed them to give us time to bring us money on their down payments and so forth. If the transactions and so forth, yes. And then on number 3, they have there the second schedule provided by the taxpayer of unpaid balances also requires additional documentation. There's the 1099-C. There's small claims court cases that I got judgments on and won on the judgments, but I couldn't collect a dime, but I spent $200 for nothing to go to small claims court on each one. Okay. And so, I mean, I have some of those in their judgments to prove. I mean, I was treating this like a business, trying to get my money and competing with everything I'm having to compete with in my area. And another thing is you have to realize that National City is the lowest income district in the city of San Diego. And in that paragraph 3, it states that I didn't provide, they had boxes. I think they had a total of the boxes and crates I took were like 5 or 6. So, you know, I don't understand when you have a paper trail and a contract that matches with customer's name, social security number, serial number, registration, everything, what other type of paper trail you would need. And for right now, I guess that's all I have for right now.
All right, thank you very much. Let me ask first, CDTFA, do you have any questions for the witness?
This is Ravinder Sharma. We have no question for the witness. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to ask if my co-panelists want to ask questions at this time, or if they would like to hold their questions until later. Judge Stanley, do you want to ask questions now?
No, I don't have any questions at this moment. So I'll wait till the end. Thank you.
Judge Aldrich, do you have any questions right now?
I'll reserve questions for later. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Then I think I will do the same. So Mr. Hunt will have questions for you after we hear CDTFA's presentation. And so then I will say, CDTFA, whenever you are ready, you can go ahead with your presentation. And I will remind CDTFA, if you can address the things that we discussed during issue clarification and generally respond to appellant's arguments. Thank you. You can go ahead.
Thank you. This is Ravinder Sharma. Appellant operated a car dealership in National City, California since April 30, 2015. The department performed an audit examination for the period of October 1, 2015 through September 30, 2018. Appellant reported total sales of approximately $8.3 million, claimed reductions of little more than $39,000, resulting in reported taxable sales of $8.2 million for the audit period. Exhibit A, page 7 and 8. Records available. Appellant provided federal income tax returns for 2016 and 2017, monthly sales journals, and sales contracts for the audit period. The department obtained the Department of Motor Vehicle DMV data, DMV vehicle registration, and use tax payment information from its own resources. The department examined sales contracts and determined recorded sales tax of around $732,000 for the audit period. Appellant reported sales tax of $694,000, resulting in unreported sales tax of $38,000 for the audit period. Exhibit A, page 15 and 25 to 41. The department's examination of sales contracts revealed that appellant did not charge the correct sales tax rate. The department used sales contracts and the correct sales tax rate to determine unreported district taxes of little more than $7,000. For audit purposes, unreported district taxes of $7,000 are allocated to taxable measure of around $57,000 and unreported sales tax of around $3,000. Exhibit A, pages 17 to 24 and 45. During the examination of sales contracts and sales journals, the department noted that appellant claimed sales of 4 cars as unwinds without any supporting documents. The department used information received from its own resources and determined unreported taxable sales of a little more than $28,000 for the audit period. Exhibit A, page 10 and 11. The department used appellant's books and records and determined taxpayer purchases resold credit for vehicle fuel of around $20,000 for the audit period. Exhibit A, page 96. Based on the stated audit procedures, the department determined unreported sales tax of a little more than $40,000 and taxable measures of $65,000 for the audit period. Exhibit A, page 9. When the department is not satisfied with the amount of tax reported by the taxpayer, the department may determine the amount required to be paid based on any information which is in its possession or may come into its possession. In the case of an appeal, the department has a minimal initial wording of showing that its determination was reasonable and rational. Once the department has met its initial burden, the burden of proof shifts to the taxpayer to establish that a result differing from the department's determination is warranted. Unsupported assertions are not sufficient to satisfy a taxpayer's burden of proof. The department used appellant sales journals, sales contracts, DMB data, and other best available information to determine the audit liability. Doing so produced a reasonable and rational determination. Appellant contends that the department assessed sales tax of a little more than $1,000 twice and sales journals for May 2016 and August 2017 to support its contention. Exhibit 3. In response, the department submits that it assessed sales tax of $1,000 only once on August 2, 2017. Exhibit A, page 25, reference number 370. Appellant contends that a total of 9 vehicles are unbound sales, Exhibit 2, but failed to provide any documentary evidence in support of its contention. For detailed comments, refer to Exhibit E, page 325 and 326. However, the department gave the benefit of doubt and allowed one of these 9 vehicles for around $12,000 as an unwind sale. Exhibit A, page reference number 4. Appellant contends that unreported taxable sales included returned merchandise and unclaimed bad debts. After the pre-hearing conference, appellant submitted 81 pages, Exhibit 4 to 11. 81 pages consist of 1099-C statement for October 2015 to September 2018. Details of that is for 2015, $5,115, 2016, $23,142, to $38,284 for 2017, and $7,650 from January to September 2018. 1099-C forms for 2017. Judgment obtained from the Superior Court in 2018 related to 5 individuals for unpaid balances for 2017 and unpaid contract balances from October 2015 to September 2018 for sales of 702 cars for $583,701. None of these documents meet the requirements of documentary evidence under Regulation 1642 and 1655. The department reviewed these pages and noted that they are irrelevant to the returned merchandise and or the bad debts. Further, as of now, despite various requests, appellant failed to provide any documentary evidence to support returned merchandise as required and mandated by Regulation 1655. Appellant also failed to provide any documentary evidence to support bad debts as required and mandated by Regulation 1642. Critically, appellant did not claim any bad debts on its federal income tax returns for 2016 and 2017. Exhibit A, page 77, as required by Regulation 1642. Due to lack of documentary evidence, the department rejected submitted documents as incomplete and unsupported of unclaimed bad debts or unclaimed returned merchandise. For detailed comments related to both the issues, refer to Exhibit E, pages 323 to 327. However, based on available documents, the department has allowed claim deductions of $9,000 for returned merchandise for fourth quarter 2016. Based on the foregoing, the department has fully explained the basis for deficiency. Further, the department has used approved audit methods to determine the deficiency. Therefore, based on the evidence presented, the department requests that appellant's appeal be denied. This concludes my presentation, and I'm available to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sharma. I will begin with some questions and then I will see if my co-panelists have any questions. Can you address why the 1099-C forms do not support any adjustments. I know you mentioned them briefly, but if you could explain it, address it in more detail.
Sure. Regulation 1644 requires, in support of deductions or claims for refund for bad debts, retailer must maintain adequate and complete record showing, number one, detail of original sale, name and address of purchaser, amount purchaser contracted to pay, amount on which retailer paid tax, the jurisdiction where the local taxes and when applicable district taxes were allocated, all payments or other credits applied to the account of purchaser, evidence that the uncollectible portion of gross receipts on which tax was paid actually has been legally charged off as a bad debt for income tax purposes. Number 8, the taxable percentage of the amount charged off as a bad debts properly allocable to the amount on which the retailer reported and paid tax. 1099-C has some information, but it does not provide all the information to the department, so the department could determine the actual amount of bad debts really which were materialized during that period or charged for the income tax purposes. Actually, during the audit period, appeal process.
I'm sorry, can you sorry, can you
Sorry.
pause for just a moment here?
Sure.
I'm getting a message from our
I'm
one of
back.
our- okay, sorry, our stenographer.
Oh,
I dropped off. I'm sorry. Mr. Sharma, can you go back to number 8, the taxable percentage of the amount charged off?
sure, I will do that.
Thank you.
Sorry for that. The taxable percentage of the amount charged off as a bad debt properly allocable to the amount on which the retailer reported and paid tax. And then there is a further details in Appendix 1 in the regulation, which explains how that amount will be calculated, which is allocable to the amount of bad debts. Thank you.
And for the benefit of our stenographer, I'm going to repeat my question and see if Mr. Sharma, if you can repeat your answer so we can try to recapture for the stenographers, but the transcripts benefit what we discussed after she dropped off. I asked a question about why the 1099-C forms don't support the adjustments. I guess you were in the middle of that.
Okay.
So I take it back. I think we are up to speed as to where we were when the stenographer dropped off. You can proceed with your answer.
No, I'm done. Basically, I answered unless you have any additional question. Basically,
Okay.
to just summarize it, 1099-C does not provide all the required information which the department must have or the retailer must maintain to claim the bad debts.
And is that also your answer regarding why the court judgments that appellant has submitted are why they don't warrant an adjustment?
That's right, because court judgment is a judgment issued by the court that the amount is due from the consumer. But that doesn't mean whether it is bad debts or not. Based on the department's examination of records, as I stated, the appellant has not claimed any bad debts. Line item for the bad debts is 0 for 2016 and 2017.
Judge Brown, this is Jason Parker. I just wanted to add
Yes.
one thing. With bad debts, we also see where we have repossession of vehicles. So that is basically a payment towards the principal amount. We also have recoveries made even after the bad debt was written off all of those need to be factored in when calculating the amount of the taxable bad debt that a taxpayer can claim. So the entire amount may or may not even be an amount that can be claimed as bad debt, even if they weren't able to collect that amount.
Thank you. All right, at this time, I'm going to turn to my co-panelists and let them ask if they have any questions. I'll start with Judge Stanley. Do you have any questions?
Not at this time, because I'm expecting that Mr. Hunt is going to respond to the answer to your question as well. And so I'll wait to see if I have any follow-ups. Thank you.
Okay. And Judge Aldrich, do you want to ask any questions at this time?
Similarly, I'll reserve questions for later if need be. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Oh, everyone can hold on just a minute. I want to make sure that I have everything. Let me turn to Mr. Hunt. We have one or two questions for appellant. Mr. Hunt, do you agree that your federal income tax returns do not show any bad debts written off during the audit period?
Correct. That was a mistake. And I didn't know with especially the 1099-Cs, because it says on that form that you're basically forgiving and giving that debt to the IRS to collect, and the IRS collects it. And the people that these 1099s are sent to, because they get a copy of it, and when the IRS garnishes their tax returns and everything else, they have the opportunity to contest it if it's not factual. And I have never received a notice back on a contested 1099-C. Like I said, they keep stating back to these different rules and different codes, 1655, 1642, 1645, things like that. Back to what I was saying earlier, please show me where you guys have this that you give to any taxpayer, okay, or person goes down and files for a resale license that gives them all this information and gives them this stuff to have that power. Now, granted, since April of 22, you guys did a huge update on your computer programs, which I had a lot to attribute to that because of the gas tax and a few other things. But before that, going back to 2014 and 15, all I got was a single piece of paper and nothing telling you, okay, this is what you've got to do. This is what you got to do, exactly this. What I was asked to do, which is in these papers here, books and records and everything else. And also, like I said, I refer back to 299 that I was asked to do. I provided those, and I was strictly informed by Mr. Austin and by Bonnie and from Gladys that I needed to provide these as the proof. Well, there's in her handwriting that they got everything, and that was fine. So if I'm not asked for anything more than what I provide, how am I supposed to know exactly what else to provide? Because it's good enough for the IRS, because it's got Social Security, the name, all the information, okay? I don't think the IRS is going to put the CDTFA's thing on their form. So this particular form, as I sent to you, along with the lawsuits, judgments, how would I go in front of a judge and win a lawsuit for money if the people didn't owe the company the money? The lawsuit's in the company's names. So this thing saying, well, you know, this 1642, 1645, please provide me where you gave that booklet or that information to me back in 2014 and 15. We didn't have all this internet stuff and everything that's going on today going on. So please provide me the information where I got it, where it was given to me available, saying, hey, you know, you're going to collect this tax for us. Okay, and you're going to do all these things, but here's the rules, here's this and so forth. I was given nothing. I was given a receipt and said, thank you, good luck. So, you know, I did what I was asked to do, especially with the 1099-Cs and the contracts with, I don't know what more paper flow you would need then. Here's a contract signed by the customer, all their information. Here's a copy of their funding check from the lender. Here's your line 7. Here's your check. There is the difference. What else could I provide you with besides that? Because they didn't ask me by this 299 form for anything else but that. Verified they received it, verified they mailed it back to me when I asked for it. So, you know, I've learned a whole lot through this process. Trust me. Now, like I said, DMV's been doing it with this book going back to, in the 80s. And I just don't understand how somebody, as Mr. Rashamara told me, well, you have to unwind this deal or do it within 30 days. Show me where this rule is where it says 30 days. There is, I've gone through this. I don't see it anywhere. So it's kind of like all these deals here through his sources, as I said, DMV, CTA, all these things, he can see also right when I sold the car the second time. So it's kind of ironic that it doesn't show here the next person that bought the car and the date they bought it, and it was off my license, showing that the car was in my inventory, was resold to somebody else, and so forth. So I've provided what they asked for. I was never asked for anything more on the 1099-Cs or the contracts and the checks, the deposits I made from the lenders and so forth. And so at this point, how am I supposed to know that it's not good enough for the CDTFA or for whatever else? Because the IRS loves it because they're collecting off the people's tax returns.
Let me ask one question actually I'm going to ask it to CDTFA because they may know better. Is there a copy of appellant seller's permit in the record?
This is Ravinder Sharma. No, it's not, but we can arrange for that if needed.
That's okay. I was just curious. I will say, I'll just confirm my co-panelists, if they don't have anything further, then I will say I think we've completed with questions right now. Mr. Hunt, if you have anything you want to add as part of your rebuttal to what appellant, if appellant has anything you want to add as part of your rebuttal to CDTFA, you can do that now. So I'll say, yeah, you can go ahead. You have 5 minutes for rebuttal.
Thank you. Another question I have is with military personnel, okay, in the city of National City, the city, and I went through all these forms, page 80 something through 90 something, where she put noted that the tax was based off the city of National City. The city of National City's district tax, the city many years ago decided that they did not charge any person outside of this that did not live in the city of National City the district tax, because it would eliminate a lot of business in the city of National City. So the city of National City only charges their district tax to liquor stores, restaurants, things like that. Any large purchase items, they do not charge the district tax. Especially with military, and the military is only, well, shouldn't be charged anything, but the military is being charged the city of San Diego tax, okay? And I don't understand all their notes. They're saying that they were charging them all the city of National City tax, because the city of National City does not charge any district tax to the military, number one, but to anybody that lives outside of the 91950 zip code that does large purchases. And one other comment. On the panel here, I know I talked to Mr. Albai, but does anybody on the panel have any military background? Familiar with military?
Mr. Hunt, this is your time to make your rebuttal. We don't answer the
okay.
questions.
Okay, the rebuttal is that, that on all of those forms, page 81 through like 98, and there's month in the front, there's things all said, charge city, national city, charge city, national city, tax. And if you looked at all those are all military non-residents. And just like with the DMV, they're not charged DMV fees, they're charged a transfer fee and a registration fee of $15. They don't pay the license fees. That's why I was asking about the military background. And that's also proven through DMV and a paper trail, because every one of them must be filed with what they call a non-resident military form. So there is a paper trail to prove that all of the transactions that were military were non-resident military through the Department of Motor Vehicle. Excuse me 1 second. Norma. Oh, shoot. Bring me can you find me a non-resident military form, please? Can you hand it to me? Thanks. I also verified that information on the district tax with Mayor Morrison of National City. But to end it all, basically, I did supply the documents that I was asked for. I supplied those items. These vehicles here, if you look and see where the car was registered next, you see it was sold by this dealership. It was sold to another person, taxes paid by another person on it. Okay. I was never explained to or told that there was a certain time frame that you had to do it with. I just followed all the DMV procedures with a statement of facts, things like that, to transfer it. And that shows the car going from there to there, back to me, and then sold. But I followed all the processes of that with DMV, so the title and the paperwork would clear. And that's it.
All right, thank you. I'm going to actually ask CDTFA if they want to respond, because this argument about the district taxes was not raised in appellant's initial presentation. Mr. Sharma, do you want to address that?
This is Ravinder Sharma. Based on the review of the contracts, the department has examined every contract and scheduled the tax recorded and the actual tax due. So unless the department knows which one transaction or particular transaction appellant is talking about, I think I'm not able to answer that question. The only thing I can say is department examined each and every contract and reviewed it in terms of the district where it was delivered. If it was means whatever the tax was due, we calculated the auto tax and compared with the reported amount and assess the difference. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. I will again check with my co-panelists to make sure that to ask if they have any additional questions before we conclude arguments. Judge Stanley, anything further?
No, I don't think I have any follow-up questions. Thank you.
Okay, Judge Aldrich, anything further?
Nothing further, thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right,
Excuse me,
then.
Judge, can I
yes.
just show you this form? This is the military non-resident form
All right,
for DMV. And this is so they don't pay their license fee in the state and so forth, and that they're able to get just the city of San Diego tax, no district tax in National City.
Mr. Hunt, can you specify which transaction you're disputing related to this?
Everyone that she has noted on those pages, it says district tax figured National City. Almost every one of them is military personnel, and how you can tell, number one is on the DMV stuff with this, but also if you look, you'll see Lehigh, That's Navy Federal Credit Union, and it's all military personnel. Because back in those days, a lot of my business was military and so forth. We delivered the cars over on the base and so forth at Navy Federal Credit Union. And those are all, you'll see the out-of-state addresses, Ohio, Kentucky, Nevada, Arizona. They're all non-resident military. And there's paper trail through DMV of this form. So we have to file it with every one of them. And I explained that to Gladys. That's why I wish she could be here at this, and because they don't pay the district tax. They pay the city of San Diego only.
All right. Does that conclude your rebuttal?
Yes.
Okay. Then I will say, I believe we've heard all of the arguments, and I've admitted all of the exhibits, and we've heard the witness testimony. So at this point, I can say that the record is closed and the case is submitted today. The judges will meet and decide the case based on the evidence, arguments, and applicable law. And OTA will mail both parties our written decision no later than 100 days from the date the record closes, which is today. So the hearing is now adjourned, and this concludes OTA's hearings for this week. Thank you, everyone, very much.
Thank you.
And we are
Thank
done
you.
with the hearing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.